All right, before we talk about how to make relationships work, let's talk about how to make relationships fail. I'm laughing because I'm going to read off a list of 10 things. I have my notes right here. I'm going to read off a list of 10 things that make your relationship a disaster. If you have these things, then you need to watch this video over and over again. If you know someone that has these 10 things in their relationship, you need to call them, bring them to this website, and make them watch this video so that they can have a better relationship. Because right now, maybe you don't need it. Maybe you do. Maybe you're a fantastic lover, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're really bad. Let's find out. You ready? All right, number one. These are the 10 things that doom relationships based on the research. Not what Dr. Tart says, but what the research says is gathered by Dr. John Gottman and Dr. Julie Schwartz Gottman, who are considered the love experts when it comes to psychology. This is who we bow down to. This is where we all get our training as psychologists. They have been doing it for years, and I'm going to tell you what they say based on their research over the last 20 years that dooms a relationship. All right, number one, more negative than positive interactions. For a relationship to be positive, you need a 5-to-1 ratio, 5-to-1 ratio of good times to bad times. Bad relationships have a 0.8 to 0.1 times. So that means that you're spending more time arguing or not speaking than you are having a good time. In order for a relationship to work, there has to be a 5-to-1 ratio. All right, number two, it's called escalation of negative affect. And to break that down, basically what that means is the more you all argue, the more negative it gets. So it starts off with you all trying to have a conversation, and by the end, you all are basically choking each other out. Number three, emotional disengagement and withdrawal. And this is where you get to the point where you say, you know what, what's the point of even talking to my wife or even talking to my husband or boyfriend or girlfriend? There's no point. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to stop caring about them. I'm going to care less. I'm going to disengage from the relationship. I'll stay in it, but there's nothing they can really do that I'll care about. All right? Be careful. Number four, failed repair attempts. A repair attempt is when you've been fighting or not speaking, and either you or your partner tries to repair the relationship by simply trying to bid for attention. Simply saying, hey babe, wonderful game on TV tonight, you gonna watch it? And your partner doesn't respond. Or maybe you go by and you touch your man on the shoulder and he just goes cold. Anything you do to try and make the relationship more positive and the person does not respond, your partner does not respond, is called a failed repair attempt. I know some of you getting worried already. All right, number five. But don't worry, I'm going to help you out. Don't worry. That's this assessment. You have to take the test to figure out how you're doing. All right, number five. It's called negative sentiment override. Now, break that down. That basically means you think that your relationship is worse than what it really is. And that's when you start thinking, this is not going to work. You know, I don't even know if I made the right decision by deciding to marry or be in a committed relationship with this person. Everything they do just makes me sick. So it gets to the point when you argue that you're not able to see the good in the relationship. All you see, is a negative. I wish I could get out of this. I feel trapped. That's negative sentiment override. So it overrides all the positives in the relationship. And if you ever dated someone that had that, you understand. You're like, we were just having a good time last night, and now you hate my guts, and you hate our relationship, and you hate me? That's called negative sentiment override. Number five. All right. Here comes number six. This is called maintaining vigilance and physiological arousal. And that's basically where you rehearse negative scenarios. It's like, okay, so you argued last night. And instead of calming down or saying, I'm going to make things work, you start rehearsing what you're going to say to them. You start thinking about ways you're going to get them back. Or you start thinking about, they're so selfish. When they come home, I can't believe they just be so selfish. And you start just boiling up all these negative emotions and you keep yourself mad. If you have that, my goodness, you're in trouble. All right. Number 7 is something called chronic flooding. This is where your heart beats 100 beats a minute. And at that point, all of us get flooded with emotion. And we're unable to hear. And what we start doing is we start just arguing with one another. Whole time you're talking, I'm acting like I'm listening, but really I'm so flooded with emotions and anger or hurt feelings, disappointment, frustration, whatever it is. All I'm doing is trying to figure out a way to make you feel as bad as I do or to argue every point that you have. Okay, that's called flooding. Now, it happens in all relationships, but when this happens frequently, you're in trouble, because when you're flooded, you cannot connect. You cannot agree on anything because you are officially fighting. Your body is physiologically in the fight mode. Flight or fight, you're in that mode, so there's no way you can listen and come together. That's called flooding. I'm going to tell you what to do about that in a minute. All right, number 8, this is important. Men, listen up. It's called failure of us to accept the influence of our wives or our girlfriends. Now, the research shows it's really us. If a relationship's going to fail, it means we didn't accept the influence of our wives or our girlfriends. What I mean by influence, that means we consider what they say. We take what they say into consideration. It's kind of that whole happy wife, happy life. It's where you decide, you know what? This is really not worth fighting for. This is not something I care deeply about. So I'm going to let her have it. I'm going to allow her to manage my time. I'm going to allow her to do certain things because I simply want to keep the peace. Now, you don't want to go overboard and lose who you are. But men who allow a woman to influence him to be a better man are better off than men that just stand their ground. I'm not going to let her tell me what to do. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to let her change me. I've been doing it the whole way before I marry her. I'm not going to change. If you do that, your relationship is in trouble. Now, I know you might be wondering, why not the case with women? Why isn't it that the woman, the research doesn't show a woman has to accept the influence of a man? Well, it does. It shows that when women get in relationships with us, for the most part, they already accept our influence. We're not able to see a difference between women in relationships because the difference is so small. For the most part, all women accept the influence of their man when it comes into a relationship. Otherwise, that man is usually long gone. Okay? But it's us. It's the men that vary this wide on how much we let our women influence us. And what the research shows is that the men that are in this category that allow their women to have a lot of influence over their lives have better relationships. All right. Number 9 is called the 4 horsemen. And I want you to remember these and remember them well. The 4 horsemen march into your relationship and they can kill it. And here they are. Number 1. First horseman is called criticism. Second one, defensiveness. Third one is contempt. And the fourth one is called stonewalling. Now, we understand what criticism is. It's where you open up the conversation by basically being critical of your partner. You don't do this, you don't do that. You're not satisfying my needs in this and that. That has no place in a relationship. When you do it, it's going to be met by the second horseman, which is defensive. So if you attack someone with criticism, you kind of force them to be defensive and they'll listen to a thing that you say and they don't take any personal responsibility, even if they are at fault, because they feel like you're attacking them. Number 3 is contempt. And this is where you start developing some deep-seated hatred about your partner or one of their personality characteristics. Like you're so selfish, or you're so self-absorbed, or you're so into yourself. When you start doing that contempt, it kills a relationship. That's probably the worst of the 4 horsemen. And then number 4 is something that men typically do, but women do it as well. It's called stonewalling. And this is where we build up a stone wall between you and our feelings. And this is where you could talk to us, but no matter what you say, we're still going to watch TV. That's nice, honey. Okay, you hate my guts. I got it. You wish I do this, make more money. I got it. Okay, you done? All right. Stonewalling. Now, women do it too, but typically this is something that men do. When those 4 horsemen are in your relationship, it's going to kill it. And then finally, number 10. This might be the biggest one. Couples that turn into disasters argue to win. The point of the argument is to win, and you battle to the death, and you're trying to win an argument. Now, that doesn't work because in a couple, there's 2 people that come together. So therefore, you can't win. Because if one person wins and the other person loses, then the relationship loses because someone always feels like they lost. When you argue to win versus argue to see the other person's point, which we'll get into in a minute, then your relationship is doomed. So hopefully you got 100 on that test. Or rather, should I say a 0? Hopefully you had none of those things. But if you had 4 or 5, 6 or 7, if you had all 10, thank God I'm here for you. Thank God that I'm giving this information because I want you to do better. Okay? So sit back and I'm going to tell you 7 keys to get rid of those 10 things that destroy relationships so you can become a relationship master. Are you ready? I know you are. Tune in.